All right, so today's objective is to be able to solve problems relating to perimeter, area, and consecutive integers. Really, to generalize it more, it's just writing expressions to solve. All right, so being able to read a problem and know how to set it up in order to be able to solve it. And today is just more specific about perimeter, area, and consecutive integers. So to be successful at that, you need to be able to define perimeter and area, to define consecutive integers and consecutive odd or even integers, to translate verbal descriptions to mathematical expressions, so know what operation you need to do, and then to make those expressions in order to solve. So I'm recording right now. I'll post it in here later, but here are some other helpful videos that you can watch if you still don't understand. And then you have a worksheet for this lesson. And I check it once in class. So I will check it tomorrow at the beginning of class. And if it's not finished by that time, what do you have to do to get the full points? Submit it into Schoology. So try to have it ready so that way you don't have to submit anything into Schoology. I'll check it tomorrow, the beginning of class. I've said this all week, but because today is Thursday, I'll say it again. When are my tutoring hours? Fridays from now on. So keep that in mind. If you're planning to come today, I only have it on Fridays. If you were wanting to get tutoring today, you can go to Miss Bowers or you can go to Mr. Fox and they can help you. I mean, you can't really do test corrections or retakes in their tutoring hours, but you can get extra help if you need it. So that is available to you and the room numbers are on this slide. Tomorrow you are taking the test over what we learned this week. So order of operations, translating expressions, solving equations using properties, and what we're learning today. So you'll be tested on that tomorrow. Truly, I don't think you need notes. I think that these skills should be inherent, and if they're not, learn how to make sure that you have these skills, because it'll help you in all your math classes. It'll help you in just life in general to be able to problem solve. So I'm not letting you use notes. If anything, I will let you use a note card. So just like a 3x5 note card, so this size. Write whatever you want on it. Write the notes from this week. Write just like an inspirational quote. I don't care. Just only thing you can use is this. So if you forget it at home, does that mean you can use notes? No, just whatever you write on a note card. Who would like one? So I do have some. So if you would like one, keep your hand up until I give you one. All right, anyone else want a note card? Anyone else? Last call. All right, so that you can have ready for tomorrow's your test. Yeah, there you go. So test is tomorrow. Any questions? All right, so the test probably won't take you that long, so make sure you have something to work on when you're finished. So I'll give you a missing assignment report. You can work on whatever you're missing, but otherwise have something else in mind too. And we're going to start with consecutive numbers. So on the note sheet, starting with consecutive numbers. So what does consecutive mean? One right after the other. So fill that in. one after the other. So when I say consecutive numbers, what would be an example of that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. What's another example that isn't that? Of consecutive numbers. -1. Will we go right after -1? No. 0 and 1. All right, good. So basically, how much is it going up by each time? 1. So kind of like our arithmetic sequences, they go up by 1 each time. Well, at least in this one. For consecutive even numbers, what would be an example of that? 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. What's another example that isn't 2, 4, 6, 8?
10, 12,
Yep, 10, 12, 14. And then it keeps going. So even numbers, how much do they go up by each time?
2.
Good. What about consecutive odd numbers? What's an example? 1, 3, 5, 7. Good. And what's an example that isn't that? So if it's 11, 13, 15, and so on. All right, so how much do the odd numbers go up by? Good. So keep that in mind. Knowing these definitions will help you set up your expressions. All right, now you know what consecutive numbers are, how much they go up by each time. So in problem 1, we'll do that together. We have the sum. What does sum tell us to do? Add. We have the sum of 2 consecutive numbers. So how much do consecutive numbers go up by? 1. All right, just regular consecutive numbers. So do we know what the first number is? No, so how can we label our unknowns? N or X or really any other letter, but I usually use N for numbers. And it wants 2 of them, so we need a first number and a second number. How can we write an expression for our second number? N plus 1. All right, so adding a number to our original number will give us our second number. Questions about that? And then how do we write is 123? Equals 123. So put it all together. We have the sum of our consecutive numbers. So we're going to add these together. Is 123. And we're going to figure out what those numbers are. Questions about that? All right, now combine like terms. What are my like terms in here? So I have N plus N. What does that give me? 2N. Good. I have 2N plus 1 equals 123. Now I know you guys know how to solve these. So what do I get rid of first? The 2 or the 1? 1. And I get rid of it by subtracting. Good. Do that on each side. What's, well, first the 1's canceled. I get 2N equal to what? Good. Opposite of multiplying by 2 would be, so do that on each side. And then what does N equal? 61 is correct. So my first number, which is N, is 61. And then my second number is 62. All right. Whatever N equals is your first number, because that's what you defined it as. And your second number in this one is n plus 1. And what's a good way to check your answer for these ones? Good. Check that they're consecutive numbers. So yeah, it's one after the other. And then when I add them together, do they give me 123? Yes. So I know I found the right one. I have seen, because we did cover consecutive numbers on the topic 1 test, I have seen you guys just like guess and check. So just think in your head, oh, what number can I pick? And then like keep guessing and checking until you find the right one. Maybe that works for you, but like this will get you the right answer 100% of the time. And also like on the computer version of that test, you really could have done whatever you wanted to figure it out. But on the paper version, you lost points if all you did was guess and check, because you got points for writing the expression and solving it. So that was the skill that we were testing. So have to know how to set it up. Questions about this one? All right, try the next one on your own. So the sum of 2 consecutive numbers is 85. Find the numbers. All right, and then we have 2 consecutive numbers. So how did you label your first number as? And how did you label your second number? Good. If it wanted 3 consecutive numbers, what would I have to do? But I would have to put n plus 2 in there also. But it just wants 2, so we're just gonna stick with this. So we're adding them together, and it equals what? Good. Questions about the setup? All right, now what's the next step? Combine our like terms, so what's n plus n? 2n plus 1 equals 85. Now what do I do? Subtract 1. So that'll cancel out the 1 on the left side. Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So 2n equals 84. How can you get the n by itself? Good, do the opposite. Do you guys remember what property this is? Inverse. You could say it's the inverse multiplicative property. You can't say that. What else? When you do something to each side, the properties of equality. Good. I just thought I'd throw that in there. All right, but n equals what? 42. Questions about that? Now, can I just box 42 and that's my answer? No. It asks for both of the numbers. What's my second number? 43. Questions? Yes. So remember how we labeled the first number as n and the second number as n plus 1? Well, since we know that n is 42, the second term is just 42 plus 1. So good question. Also, you can look back at the definition for what consecutive numbers are. You would know it would be just one after the other. All right, any questions? So let's do the next one together. It is a little bit different because now it wants 2 consecutive even numbers. So how much do even numbers go up by each time? 2. So this time, my first number can be what? And it only wants 2 numbers, so we're just going to go to the second number. And we can label that as n plus 2. Even numbers go up by 2. How much do odd numbers go up by? 2 also. So here's your setup. And it says find 2 consecutive even numbers whose sum, so what am I doing? Adding these together. So n plus 10 plus 2 is 54. How do I write that in algebra? Good. Now we just combine like terms and solve. So n plus n is 2n. Bring everything else down. And when we're getting the n by itself, always start with what's farther away. So instead of adding 2, we're going to subtract. Good. What property is this? There's 2 possible answers. Inverse of addition, so additive inverse property, and then subtraction property of equality. So you have to subtract on each side. That's the subtraction property of equality. All right, but moving on, 54 minus 2 is opposite of multiplying is, so do that on each side, divide by 2. All right, and then n equals what? Good. Does that answer my whole question by saying 26?
No.
What's my second number? 28. So n is 26. N plus 2 is 28. How can I check it? First, check that they're even numbers, which they are. And then when I add them together, do they equal 54? Yes, so we're finished. All right, try the one on the back side. All right, and I'm covering up the bottom part, so just try to see from where you are. We have the sum of 2 consecutive odd numbers is 128. So first define the consecutive odd number. How much do they go up by each time? 2. 2. So your first number, you don't know what it is, so we labeled it n. Second number, because it's consecutive odd, is n plus 2. What if it wanted 3 consecutive odd numbers? Would it be n plus 3?
N plus 4.
N plus 4. So if it wants more terms, like if it wants more than 2 consecutive numbers, maybe it wants 3, maybe it wants 5, just keep adding 2 each time. All right? But it just wants 2. So when we're doing the sum of them, it's n plus 2 equals 128. Combine like terms. N plus n is 2n. And then from here, it's just a 2-step equation. So do the opposite of what's being done. Instead of adding, we subtract on each side. And then instead of multiplying, we divide on each side, which gives us 63 for the first number and 65 for the second. All right, so n is 63. The second number is n plus 2, so 65. All right, questions? That makes sense. All right, now we have some vocabulary on the next part. So I'm going to switch it. Hopefully, those of you that are writing, just fixing a mistake. All right, but now we have a few definitions for perimeter and area. So which one of those 2 words is the distance around the outside of a shape? Good. Perimeter is the distance around the outside of the shape. It can be found by adding all the side lengths. And that's true for any shape. You can just add up all the sides and get the perimeter. For area, which is the second length, that is the amount of space within the perimeter of a shape. So it's the inside. And the formula varies on the type of shape. So rectangles, triangles, trapezoids, they all have different formulas for area. So we just need to know a few of them at this point. You need to know area of a rectangle. What's that formula? length times width. If you don't know that, you need to know that. You can't solve if you don't know the formula. And then what about like a square? What's that formula for area? Read some stuff, but I didn't really care much. Length times width.
Oh,
All right, for area of a rectangle and a square, it's the same, length times width. What about a triangle? What's that formula for area? Length times width divided by 2. I say 1/2 base times height, which is the same thing as doing length times width divided by 2. But there you go. Any questions about those formulas? All right, so those need to be inherent. You need to know those by heart. All right, down here, we are going to write an expression in simplest form to represent the perimeter for these first four. All right, so starting with a rectangle whose width is x plus 3 and length is 2x plus 1. So I always draw a picture, even though you probably don't need the picture, but we're going to draw it out. So the width is x plus 3 and the length is what? 2x minus 1. And we're told to find the perimeter. So how do I find perimeter? Add up all the sides. Now, am I only adding these two sides? No, you have to add all the sides. So I could label all of these to make it easier on myself. Now, I could write 2x minus 1 plus 2x minus 1 plus x plus 3 plus x plus 3. But how can I shorten that? I guess you could, but how can I shorten that process instead of writing this big old sentence? What's the formula for a perimeter of a rectangle? That would be area. What about perimeter? Well, I can tell you like perimeter of a square is 4 times one side length. What about a rectangle? Good. 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. That way I don't have to write like a huge long sentence. You can if you want to, but I think this might be easier. So I have 2 times the length, which is what? Good. Put that in parentheses. Plus 2 times the width. What was the width? X plus 3. And then we just have to simplify it. So what can we do? Distribute. Always distribute first if you can. So what do I get when I distribute on this side? 4x minus 2. What about over here? 2x plus 6. And it's a positive 2x, right? So put plus 2x and plus 6. All right, don't forget the sign in front of the outside number. If it was a minus 2, that would change it. But it's a positive, so we're good. Questions right now? Is this simplest form? What can I do to make it simplest form? And what are some like terms? 4x and 2x. And try to keep the sign that's in front of each term. So 4 plus 2 is 6x, and then combine your constants. What's negative 2 plus 6? 4. And it's positive, so put plus 4. Now is it in simplest form? Can I simplify any more than this? No. All right, it doesn't tell us what the perimeter is. It It doesn't tell us to solve for x, so we're finished. It just wants an expression to represent. Questions about that? All right, let's look at the one underneath that one. So we have an equilateral triangle whose side length is x minus 2. So what's special about equilateral triangles? All sides are equal, good. So just pretend that these are all equal, not to scale. Right, that's why they only gave you one side length, because you should know that all the other side lengths are the same. So I have x minus 2 here, x minus 2 here, and x minus 2 here. All right, we're trying to find the perimeter. So I could put x minus 2 plus x minus 2 plus x minus 2, or how else can I write it? Three times x minus 2, right? So there's 3 sides that are all the same. How do I simplify this? Distribute. What do I get when I distribute? 3x minus 6. Do I have to do anything else on this one? No. Questions? All right. Try the 2 that we didn't do, but in order to do that, you need to know what these shapes mean. So like, what's a pentagon? Has 5 sides, good. What about an isosceles triangle? What's special about an isosceles triangle? 2 sides are the same, they're congruent to each other. So like these 2 sides could be the same and this one over here is different. That's why it says in the description, one side length of 4x plus 2 and 2 side lengths of x plus 3. 2 of them are equal. All right, so try those 2, set up the expression and then make sure it's in simplest form. All right, so perimeter of a pentagon, a regular pentagon with a side length of 3x plus 2. How can I write an expression to model that? Five times 3x plus 2. And make sure you put it in parentheses, right? So yes, 5 because it has 5 sides and they're all the same. So 5 times 3x plus 2. What do I do next? Distribute. What do I get when I distribute? 15x plus 10. Do I have to do anything more to put it in simplest form? No. So then we're finished there. That's our simplest form. Questions about that? All right, so make sure you get that one right on your test form. The one underneath it, an isosceles triangle with a side length of 4x minus 2. Make sure you label your triangle correctly. This will help you out. And 2 sides with a length of x plus 3. So when I'm setting it up, I could write perimeter equals x plus 3 plus x plus 3 plus 4x plus 2. How else can I write it?
4x plus 2 plus 2 times.
Good, and put the x plus 3 in parentheses. All right, and you can have that flipped. You can have 2 times the sum of x and 3 plus 4x plus 2. All right, but now what comes first? Distributing or combining like terms? Distributing always. If you added these together and then distributed, that would be incorrect. So distribute, what do I get when I distribute?
2x plus 6.
Good, and then bring everything else down. 4x plus 2, plus 2x plus 6. Now we can combine like terms. So what do you get when you combine the x terms? Good, they're both positive. So I get positive 6x. And then the constants, what do I get when I combine those? 8. Because again, they're both positive. Keep the sign that's directly in front. And then is this simplest form now?
Yes.
Yes, so 6x plus 8 would be the correct answer for that one. Good. All right, all I saw in your test was perimeter. But since we're talking about perimeter, we might as well talk about area. Because I know like on the ACT, the SAT, they love to talk about those. So area of a rectangle. What's the formula for area of a rectangle? Length times width. I can also draw it out. But I might not need to on this one because it does tell me the length and the width. But either way, the width is 6x plus 4, and the length is 5. So plug that in. Length is 5, width is 6x plus 4. Questions there? All right, now how can I make it simplest form? Good, and what do I get when I distribute? Plus 20. And then do I have to do more to simplify it? No, it's in simplest form. So no like terms that we need to combine. We are finished. Go ahead and try the next one. So a rectangle with a width of 7x minus 2 and a length of 3. And you're looking for the area this time. All right, so here's the solution projected. So length times width. So 3 times the difference of 7x and 2. And we distribute to get it into simplest form. And when we do that, we get 21x minus 6. Any questions about this one? It's the same thing. Get it right on the first try. All right, that's pretty much it. So that gives you about 15 solid minutes to work on the 7 problems from your practice. I'm checking it tomorrow at the beginning of class, but I think that gives you more than enough time to try it and ask questions if you need to. And the key is back here on the wall, so you can check your answers too.